Alright, welcome to my first YouTube video. What you see in front of me is basically my drift car sitting up on the homemade rotisserie. It's not finished yet, but the car is up. It was a massive headache to get it up, but I did manage to do that in the end. I had to lift it up at the front and at the back. So I've took some footage of the actual process of welding up the brackets, or the basically the mounting points of where the rotisserie goes in the actual engine stand. So I'm gonna show you a couple of time lapses that I did, as well as some information and so on as to how I did this. Now it's not finished yet because I had a couple of issues at the front here. So the back got casters, but here I'm using the original wheels that came with the engine mount, and they're way too short, or the diameter of the wheels are too short. So because I'm using the square tubing that is actually quite smaller than the original square tubing of the engine mount, they sit crooked, and I did that on purpose when I welded it, so that you put minimal tension on the actual welds, while instead allowing the other square pipe, the tube, to go in all the way into the other pipe and sort of wedge. So it's sitting a bit crooked, and then I welded it so that most of the load actually sits on the walls of the other pipe. Square tube. It's called square tube. I don't know why I keep saying pipe. Anyway, yeah, square pipe, square tube, whatever. So I had the issue, like I said. So when I just put them up on these pieces of wood on both sides, and if I do take them off and put them on the floor, it's gonna bottom out, because there's a bolt underneath that actually holds the whole thing together. It's a pretty cheap design, but that one is actually sitting on that bolt. If I bring it all the way down. So because of that, I'm gonna have to wait until tomorrow to buy some casters. They're actually a bit taller and sits higher up to lift the whole thing up, and that way I can have casters on both sides. So when I take it out of the garage or the shop, I'm actually able to turn it 90 degrees, hopefully without hitting anything, but I'm not sure if it's gonna work or not. So yeah, we'll see. Anyway, here's some footage that I took before. Alright, so now that I've got the TIG welding setup prepared, I'm gonna start tacking these down. I'm only gonna start with the actual surface that mounts to this. I will have flat bar connected up here, going down there in each direction for extra support. Sorry about that noise, by the way. It's just a water cooler for the TIG welder. The setup I'm using is just a basic number 8 cup with a gas lens and a CK torch, CK20 to be precise. It's a water cooled torch. It's really good. Like, I really like this one. It's lightweight, and it keeps it cool. Like, you can keep on welding for a long time. I'm using a lanthanated gold colored tungsten. It's good for both aluminium and various types of metals, steel. So yeah, let's get to it. I'm all done welding up the angles of the support bars, as well as drilling out the actual the steel plate with the pipe that goes into the rotisserie. So I've drilled it out. I'm using old head bolts actually, because you know you can't really reuse them. They're tensile bolts, or yield torque to yield bolts. So I can't reuse them in a head. However, I can reuse them for stuff like this. That doesn't require an insane amount of clamping force. So I've welded the flat bar on the back here. I've drilled the holes and everything. So yeah, that's all done. I've also found a piece of wood that I can use as an extra support in that direction. Instead of me having to run over to the hardware store and buy more square tubing, I can just use some wood. It's gotta be, you know, more than enough for what we have to do here. So I just cut out a notch and pushed it against the roll cage, and I bolted everything up here. So we've got, yeah, it's more than enough. It's gonna hold up pretty well, hopefully anyway. Otherwise I will just get the car over me, or it's gonna fall on its side or something, which would suck. I mean, that ruined most of the point of this, but I'm sure it's gonna be alright. So now that it's all done, and actually the doors as well as the trunk are all going to be removed, as well as the rear subframe, before I actually start rotating it in this rotisserie. So it's not going to be that heavy. So now I have a lot of cleanup to do. I have to remove all of the tools, as well as throw away a lot of papers and tissues and other stuff. So I'm gonna do that, and I'll be back soon.